Hello and welcome to today's conversation with Reverend Femi Adeleye, a renowned theologian, missiologist, and social activist. With over 4 decades of experience in the field of Christian ministry, Femi B. Adeleye serves as the African Director for Langham Preaching. He is also the Director of the Institute of Christian Impact, an initiative to nurture a new generation of leaders to impact Africa with kingdom values. Before this, he served for 3 years as the Director of Church Partnership for World Vision International, focusing on enhancing World Vision's partnership with churches around the world. Prior to joining World Vision, Femi worked for 32 years with the International Fellowship of Evangelical Students, IFES. In his last years there as Associate Director for Partnership and Collaboration, he previously served as the IFX Regional Secretary for English and Portuguese-speaking Africa, strengthening leadership development and cross-cultural mission within Africa and beyond. Femi is an alumnus of Wheaton Graduate School, University of Edinburgh, and the Akofi Christella Institute of Theology, Missions and Culture in Ghana, PhD. Femi is an honorary vice president of the International Fellowship of Evangelical Students and served on the international board of the Lausanne Movement. Adeleye is also a research fellow at the Akofi Christella Institute of Theology, Mission and Culture, where he teaches as an adjunct faculty member. He is the author of Preachers of a Different Gospel, Let No Man Despise Your Youth, and Partnering with the Global Church, co-authored with Nikki Toyama Sizoto. Femi is married to Afi Adeleye. They are blessed with 4 children, Remy, Philip, Olive, Kemi, and Emmanuel, and currently lives in Ghana. In this session of the interview, we would focus on ICI and other social matters. So without further ado, let's welcome Reverend Dr. Femi once again. But I know that you've been traveling in and out, but when it comes to raising your children, how do you maneuver with that? Apparently, it will be left to anti-fear as to all the rest of it. How do you juggle around these things and make sure that things went also?
If we were to ask our children about that, they'll probably tell you the best of our years were in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Where, when I'm not traveling, I'm responsible for driving them to school. I take them to school, I collect them from school. Weekends, we did things together as a family. In other words, when I'm home, I make sure I'm fully home. To spend time with my wife, to spend time with the children. And then we do recreational things together. I think Southern Africans tend to have more recreation than this because in West Africa. West African life is hectic. Everybody's uptight and growing. When last did you have a holiday? What is a holiday? Yes. Well, we live in Zimbabwe. We'll go away on holiday. We'll go for 2 or 4 days. Go to Victoria Falls, go to the wildlife park. So the recreational time with our children, and then the devotional life at home, studying the Bible together. We rotated actually, so I don't lead always, Afi doesn't lead always. We rotated. There were days one of our children would lead devotion, okay? Then another one leads. So it became a family culture and tradition to depend on God's word. And we worked together. I enjoy gardening.
Okay.
And I remember doing gardening with our children, planting flowers.
So advising young couples, what would be that one thing they should look out for to have a very successful marriage, sort of? What is that one thing?
The primary one thing I would say is put all your eggs in one basket.
Yes.
What does that mean? When you make a commitment to a life partner, say you are a man, you've made a commitment to your wife, you will meet other beautiful women. They will talk nicely to you, but don't deviate. Stick with your wife. Let her be the focus of your attention, the focus of your love, because that's the person you are committed to. Many marriages have failed because people get distracted from their immediate spouse or life partners, attracted to other persons, and it jeopardizes the love and the relationship. So, of course, I will mention prayer, the need to pray together, but because you said one thing, stay focused to your life partner. Don't deviate. Don't be distracted by other persons.
Could you kindly share with us some happy moments in your marriage with Auntie Afi? Some really happy moments that you share with us.
Oh, lots of happy moments.
Share with us, please.
I think some of the happiest moments that they are twofold. One is when we do ministry together. There are times when we have to lead conversations in a seminar together. But the other really is when we go away somewhere together. Sometimes just Afi and I go on an outing, which may be go to a restaurant in Accra or drive to port to buy fish together.
Wow.
I know, yes. We've been to Tema Port together.
So I was thinking, at your age, those things really don't.
No. I still go to Zongo Junction with Afi.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So sometimes there are things people think only a woman should do. No, I do them with her. So my biggest joy is when we do recreational things that were not required. It's not part of our job. It's not. I enjoy that. I enjoy traveling with Afi. Like when we went to Canada, we went for a Christian consultation. But after that, we visited places together. We visited our children in Chicago together. So doing things together, doing recreational things together, I enjoy. But even when we don't travel or go somewhere, at home, when we share a meal together and we can talk or watch a movie, occasionally we watch a movie with them. Most of the time, after watching for 10 minutes, I sleep. Yeah, but just doing things together for me is exciting.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So, Femi, looking at your position as a pastor, position as a leader in society, is how do you juggle between your social life?
I must confess, I have a Facebook link, but I'm rarely on Facebook. Sometimes I check Facebook probably once in a month because I am old school. I believe more in face-to-face interaction. So with people at church, with people in the marketplace, even with workers, when they come to do some things here at home. But social in the sense of listening to people, understanding where they are, playing things together. I used to play table tennis regularly with Dr. Mabne.
Okay.
For me, that's part of social life. Yes. We've not done it for a while because COVID shut it down. But last Sunday we discussed we need to get going again, right? So it's being in a free space or being in a birthday celebration we had one for Nana Yenza.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Just about 2 weeks ago. So for me, those kind of interaction, which are not things I'm required to do, for me is part of social life. Yes. It's not only when you are on Facebook. Of course, I'm on WhatsApp regularly to be in touch with people. So I would say, as busy as I am, I still have some time for that.
So viewers, we are still having a good time with Uncle Femi, and it has really been a good time where he shared with us his life, how he grew up into senior high, his marriage life, and how things are going with him. So this is my story platform. We will go on a break and come back. Thank you. Viewers, welcome back to This Is My Story, where we seek to inspire, inform, and impact by listening to stories that will spur us on into becoming better versions of ourselves. So we'll now go back to Reverend Dr. Femi and continue with our conversations. So we know Dr. Femi is the director of ICI. So we would want to please hear from him how the ICI has evolved and what was the purpose and the ideas behind it.
Thank you very much. ICI stands for Institute for Christian Impact. And the reason it exists is really to challenge Christians to bring their faith to influence, to affect and impact all spheres of life, including professions, business life, the marketplace, and society at large. This came out of the body. You must have heard of the church in Africa as a whole. Yes. Our churches are full, but you also know that between Monday and Saturday, we have challenges. There's corruption. Yes. There's bad business. Yes. There's lawlessness. Sometimes even by Christians. Because in our part of the world, people tend to disconnect faith from other aspects of life. So there are business people who believe God is interested in their spiritual life, by which they mean what they do in church. They may be praise worship, they may be Bible studies, but maybe God has no interest in how they do business. So someone who is faithful in church on Sunday may be cheating clients or customers for Wednesday. So it is that gap between faith and life that gave me a deep burden. How do we bridge the gap? Then we said, no, we need conversations to bring about a mind change. Because going to church, having many people in church without impacting how we live Monday through Saturdays is not a reflection of Christian witness. So we began a conversation some years back with some friends I call my immediate circle of accountability. What can we do to make a difference? To challenge Christians to bring their faith to affect what they do Monday through Saturday. Then we came up with the idea of the Institute for Christian Impact. These days we are using less of institute, we are calling it Initiative for Christian Impact. Okay. So we run seminars, we run workshops, we run webinars and have significant conversations on Christian values. How do we bring kingdom perspective to influence politics, to influence business, to influence the marketplace, to influence even matters of the environment? Because when we say the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and we are not good stewards of the environment where God has placed us, there is a problem. So we run all these programs, hoping through them will impact the public sphere with kingdom values, bearing witness in every nation that God has placed us. So it's not just a Ghanaian thing, it's an African thing. So one of our key phrases is mission for a bright Africa. We believe God wants us to impact Africa.
So please, since its inception, what has been some of the testimonies or the impact people have gotten back to the team?
Oh, significant. Let me illustrate with our friends in Côte d'Ivoire, in Abidjan. They've attended a number of our seminars here in Ghana, but they've gone back to start conversations. Teachers having conversation with one another, business people having having conversations with one another. And now they are actually registering a French version of ICI in Abidjan. We've done all that we do bilingually because West Africa is both Anglophone and Francophone. So to see people taking the vision beyond the event to impact their local context is remarkable. We've also had invitation to start the same thing in South Africa. So we see it expanded. Just last week I was in conversation with friends in Nigeria who are challenging us to come and do something locally in Nigeria. Those are pending requests. We've gone to do some brainstorming in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. I've done the same thing in Sierra Leone. So we've seen a good response to the vision and the ministry of the Institute or Initiative for Christian Impact.
Uncle Femi, please, with this initiative, is it open to all people, or we have a certain class of people that can sign up? What is the criteria one would need to sign up in the initiative?
It's for any professional wanting to serve God's purpose in his or her generation. So we've not made it for pastors or preachers alone. We actually want people in the marketplace. Of course, pastors have been involved with us towards their own learning how to challenge people in church to have scripture affect or an influence how they do ministry. Many churches are still far behind in this. For instance, I chat with my mechanic, and my mechanic tells me church doesn't say anything to him on how he does his profession. That's very true. If you talk to the masons, they go to church. But does church talk about their professions? No. Masons, iron benders, just name them. Church has not addressed this category of people. So it's open to any person doing some kind of profession or work towards understanding how God wants him or her to be the best possible as Christian witness.
ICI, looking into the future, what are some of the pragmatic steps you are taking, more especially in attacking, let's say, corruption in Africa? What are some of the pragmatic steps ICI is putting in place so that it won't be a seminars and everything, but is ICI really engaging with the systems of society in that sense?
Yes, I'll say we are. The seminar before COVID, we've had public lectures on various aspects of corruption. Because corruption is not, actually these days, I don't like the word corruption. I prefer theft. People steal money, big time stealing. Big time stealing, not only in politics, not only in business, but in small places. My mechanic admitted to me they take part of our money. Yes. When I confronted him, he said, of a truth, Pastor, if you don't take money, you will not make ends meet. So he admitted. So beyond our events, we do consultative dialogues by Zoom to raise these questions. So longer term, what do we want to see? We want to change the narrative. So we hear less about corruption. I hear more about honesty in the market. Honesty from taxi drivers who it happened to me once I left my phone in a taxi and I searched for it for a whole day. I didn't know where I placed it. Then I got a call and the taxi driver called me to say you left this phone in my car. Where can I give it back to you?
Was it in Ghana?
In Ghana, in Ekropon. In Ekropon. So we agreed to meet in Tutu. Okay. We met there and he returned my phone. I in fact wanted to give him money. He said no. No. So we want to hear more stories like that. Policemen not demanding bribes. People in immigration not asking for the little thing before they do their business. Honesty, basic honesty in small things. Be it the medicine or the mechanic. That's the transformation we want to see in Ghana and in all African countries.
Sure. Please, what would be your advice for churches now, looking at how morals are being degraded, morals are coming down at a low now, looking at how the standards are going down? How would you advise maybe leaders or the church on how to take on issues?
Thank you. In fairness to churches, most are doing the best they can with what they know. I know many church leaders who are passionate about evangelism, passionate about preaching, passionate about mission. But I often think we spend more time in church preparing people to go to heaven. That's true. Salvation by faith in Christ, by grace, holiness. So people think more of how can I get to heaven?
Yes.
But I think we need to do a lot more. Before we get to heaven, how do we live here? How do we give glory to God in our professions? As Daniel did. Daniel was a politician, he was an administrator. Joseph was like a prime minister or economic minister in Egypt. He managed the economy. And so when I think of the state of African nations, in which God has blessed us with abundant resources, and we still cry of poverty and mismanagement, it means church is probably not doing enough. Sometimes I hear, in Ghana, Christians are 70%. In Kenya, Christians are 60%. So if in a nation where 70% and we talk of corruption, they are the corrupt people. That's right. So we need to be more proactive in challenging one another in how we live Monday through Saturday before we get to heaven. When we get to heaven, we don't need to worry about these things. Okay. The challenge is here. Okay? The witness is here. So God once told his prophet, his servant Jeremiah, go into the streets of Jerusalem and see if there is any righteous or upright person. God didn't say go into the synagogue or the temple. He said go into the streets. The streets, which is really where the rubber meets the road. Monday through Saturday. So he went. What did he find? The feedback is that there are few people or not who are honest. Even priests and prophets were taking bribes. And I think sometimes that is what we read in the newspapers, even today. So we need to change that narrative. Every church needs to rethink, what can we do differently to challenge one another to be our witness.
Please, what would be your view on this current trend of LGBTQ plus as a pastor, and how should we go about this issue in our society?
Well, for those who read the same kind of Bible that I read, Genesis tells me that God created man in his image. He created them male, female. Now, he didn't list 7 ways in which he created them. be it the LGBT, be it the Q, and the list keeps growing. In the past, you only had of maybe LG, L or gays. Then it became BT, Q, I, and it keeps increasing. What will I say? We remain faithful to how God preordained us to be, created us. Having said that, we mustn't judge. Okay? We mustn't condemn. We mustn't. We must treat those who have not understood that or who are not believing that. We must treat them with compassion. Because what I've seen is that for those who understand God's truth and want to challenge others to do the same, we often bash those who are not doing it. We run them down. We condemn them. That is not helpful. We need to be compassionate. We need to be generous, even if we don't embrace their values. Because it's by our love, by our compassion, that they will understand why we stick. And, sometimes scientific reasons have been given for disorderly sexual behavior. And that's why I say we need to be careful not just to judge or condemn. Not judging, not condemning doesn't mean one embraces what they do. So I started by saying we stick to what the Bible teaches. But we extend God's compassion and love to those who may not necessarily believe what we do.
So I'm looking at the issue where a friend just comes to me and probably open up and tell me that this is for her situation. Please, what do you think should be the right approach from me to that person that really is to LGBTQ? What should be the practical approach? Should I refer him to someone, maybe a pastor? Or what should really be the approach from your perspective?
First is to listen to his or her story. Is this what you've always believed? Is this the orientation you have always had? Or have you been influenced by other factors? If the factors have been external, is to ask, did you know what God says about this? So open conversation, even before I establish that this is my conviction. But to establish, regardless of what you believe, I don't condemn you. Our conversation continue. And if the person needs counseling, needs additional help, but I feel I can give the counsel, I can refer to the counselor, refer to the pastor. I must say not all pastors necessarily have the competency. Because sometimes we think pastors have all the answers. No. There are specialists, there are counselors, there are psychologists who are Christians, whose understanding of human nature and orientation are necessary to engage with some of these issues. So what I can handle, I will. What I can refer to others. But I must not condemn. I mustn't condemn. That's very key. Yes.
And I feel that is what is really happening now. We tend to condemn and push them down.
Yes.
Not ready to listen. It's really worrying. Thank you so much for touching on that. So as someone that you've dedicated your life to promoting interfaith dialogue and social justice, can you please tell us about a particular impactful experience or encounter that stands out in your mind?
When it comes first to interfaith relationship, God created all human beings in his image. Okay? And I have learned significant lessons, both in scripture and in real life. In scripture, we have one story we call the story of the Good Samaritan. In the days of Jesus, who were the believers? They were the Levites, they were the Pharisees. But when this man was attacked by bandits, where were the religious pursuing their religious experiences piously, and maybe some of them don't want to be contaminated by this wicked person by the road. There's a Samaritan who attended to his needs. So maybe begin to think that the value God's being created in the image of God is not limited only to Christians. God still works through other persons. And then I'll tell you a personal experience. Once I was driving in Nigeria from Jos to Lagos, and I got stranded. My mother and my younger brother were with me. I got stranded because I had a flat tire, which I changed. Then I had another flat tire. So I had two flat tires. I couldn't move. Eventually, I tried to stop many people. Eventually, somebody stopped by to ask how he can help me. I didn't know it, but he happened to be a Muslim. Wow. So he put my two spoiled tires in his car, drove me. I left my brother to stay with our mother. We went to a village where there were vulcanizers. See, it was Christmas Day. See. Wow, Christmas Day. Wow. And we got to the vulcanizers. We knocked on their door. It's getting a bit dark. And they said, sorry, yes, we are vulcanizers, but we don't work on Christmas Day. And my friend, the Muslim, said, but this is your brother.
Ah, they were Christians.
Yes, the vulcanizers were Christians. That's why they don't work on Christmas Day.
Ah.
You know? And this Muslim pleaded with them. This is your brother. Please, repair his tires, his wheels, so he can go back to pick his mother. And they refused. So this man drove me to the next village. We got somebody to fix the tires. And then he drove me all the way back, close to 50 kilometers, to make sure my car was all right and I could leave. So between my Muslim friend and my Christian brothers, who will not walk because it is Christmas, who has God used? Yes. Bless you. So I have many Muslim friends now. Okay. Yes. I'm on WhatsApp platforms with some of them. I'm on WhatsApp platform with my high school. I'm on WhatsApp platform with my college friends. Many of my college friends are Muslims. We still talk. So I'm open. But they know what I believe. Yes. And I share my faith. Then you mentioned issues of social justice. Yes. We in ICI are passionate about social justice. In fact, last year, we had a consultative dialogue to address justice issues. Children that are being sold off as sex slaves. Women being wrongly accused of being witches. Where is justice for them? So we discussed and debated, what can we do differently as Christians to respond to this? So I remain passionate about this, because I know even when you talk of kingdom values for nations, Christians alone cannot build nations. You need to interact and engage with people of other faith, even related to justice issues.
So what would be your advice to a young person who is struggling to find common ground with different faith? As in, someone from a Muslim background, he's a Christian, but they want to really bring that divide. What would be your advice to
There's already a common ground that all are created in the image of God, and that God has not written anyone off. How do I know that? The story of Cornelius. Cornelius was not yet a believer. As a non-believer, God still had his prayers. That's why God sent Peter. And before Peter could go, God had to reconvert Peter. Not to call him clean, what God has called clean. So for a young person who has someone of other faiths, the first rule is don't condemn, don't write off. Because in fact, when you start on the ground of condemning or writing off, you close the door to any conversation.